Welcome, everybody, to another QuickBooks Power Hour. We're glad to have you here. My name is Michelle Long, and I've got Hector Garcia with me today. I'm not going to talk much about myself. A lot of you already know me. Just a quick mention, if you haven't joined the LinkedIn group already, please join it. It's a great resource. If we can't answer all your questions today, that LinkedIn group can help answer your questions. So go out there and post your questions out there. Also, the practice sets, I've had a lot of emails about those. All of my 5 books are available on Amazon if you want to check those out. We've got Hector with me today. Hector, you want to go ahead and say hi?
Hi.
Okay.
3 times to make
there
sure.
You go. You're down in sunny Miami today. You want to say anything about yourself, Hector?
Sure. I'm a CPA. I teach QuickBooks almost for a living in my own classroom I have down here. We do training for end users, CPAs. We do some CPE stuff down here in South Florida as well. My background is in accounting, finance, and taxation, and I'm a member of the Intuit Trainer Writer Network. And of course, I don't have it there, but I'm a pro advisor as well.
Very cool. You want to cover the agenda, Hector?
Sure. So today we're going to talk about, introduce Power Hour real quick for brand new attendees. We'll talk about the CPE process. The topics we're going to be covering is going to be bank rules, bank fees and bank rules. As always, I will cover the desktop part and Michelle will cover the online part. This time around, I'm doing desktop first and Michelle's doing online second. And we have a very special guest towards the end. Doug Sleeter is going to come speak to us about what this whole thing means to the accounting profession and give us a little bit of a talk about the new upcoming Sleeter conference. The QB Power Hour, it meets every 2 weeks. I know a lot of you are repeat attendees, so thank you very much for that. It's at 12 p.m. Eastern. The idea is that Michelle and I will cover advanced experience user type tips and tricks, usually 50% desktop, 50% online. We will almost always have a third-party app or sort of a practice management thought leader in the industry, special guest to kind of top the webinar off. And if you go to qbpowerhour.com, you can give us some feedback about topics you would like to see in future webinars, and you can actually see past recorded webinars in qbpower.com and Michelle's YouTube page. And if you haven't done a survey yet, we would really recommend that you go into that link and give us some further feedback about who you are and what you expect, and that will help us continuously improve it. The CPE process is quite simple. We make sure that the attendees are at least 50 minutes, right? So as long as you log in no later than 12:10 p.m. Eastern, and that you're there all the way to the end. That's the first condition. The second condition is we're gonna have somewhere in the middle, we're gonna have a keyword question pop up, and then that keyword question you need to write it down, and then towards the end, not exactly at the end, but towards the end, we will have a polling question where we'll ask for the keyword. Make sure you answer it in the polling question and not on the chat box or not in the questions box. Then we basically have all the attendees and we filter out the ones that answer correctly and the ones that were there for 50 minutes, and within 2 weeks I email all the certificates automatically. I actually emailed the certificates for last webinar late last night. But so that's the CPE process.
Thank you, Hector. And I'd just like to remind people in the CPE, not everybody needs continuing education credit. If you're a CPA, if you're a certified bookkeeper, then you might need CPE, and so we'd like to provide that for you. And do allow 2 weeks. Might put a reminder on your email or on your calendar to check it in 2 weeks. Check your email in a couple weeks. I wanted to remind you about some upcoming events as well as a couple announcements. As Hector mentioned, the Sleeter conference is coming up really quickly. We've got Doug Sleeter joining us today. You're going to be hearing more from him, and we've also asked him to give us a special offer. Hector and I both will be presenting and love to see you at the Sleeter conference. Make sure you come out and say hi to us if you're there. A lot of great information. Intuit Academy has announced they're going to cities near you, various cities across the U.S. for QBO certification training. You can get details on that. I've got the link there for you as well. If you go to intuitacademy.com and click on QuickBooks Online. You'll find that, or there's the URL. And then also, there were some announcements made last week at the QuickBooks Connect conference. There's some changes to the Pro Advisor program and a brand new QuickBooks Online accountant that's going to be coming out in December. Hector and I plan to get Luis Sanchez or somebody from Intuit to come on and talk to us about some of these changes and answer your questions about that, because there's some pretty big changes to the Pro Advisor program that are coming. And then QB Accountants is amazing. You're going to want to see the new QBOA. Also in QuickBooks Connect, we launched the QBO Advanced Certification. You heard me right. There's now an advanced certification for QuickBooks Online, not just the desktop. It will be available to everybody in your course lockers probably in December. If you're in another country, it'll be available around the first of the year. It's going to be a little bit longer while they localize that for different countries, but there will be an advanced QuickBooks Online certification available in December for those of you that didn't attend the conference. If you haven't already joined the Pro Advisor program, I encourage you to do that. It's going to be free to join the Pro Advisor program, to take the training, and to get certified. You can find out more details. I don't think the website has been updated for all the changes that were just announced last week. So join us for an upcoming webinar, and we'll answer questions about those changes, what it means for you, and things like that. So Hector, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you to cover the QuickBooks Desktop part of our QB Power Hour today. So I'm going to go ahead and change you as the presenter and let you take it for a few minutes.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Michelle, can you see my screen already? Just wanted to double check.
Yep, we can see your screen already.
Okay, perfect. So let me get to my slide here. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to be covering bank rules in QuickBooks Desktop 2014 and 2015. For some of you that are using 2013 or older versions, this would be brand new because the screen looks very, very different. And because I only have so much time to cover this, I chose to use the newer version. Now, one of the important points before I jump into the product here, I have to make three very important points. One is bank feeds for credit card and for banks. Although bringing the data into QuickBooks, synchronizing it or downloading it, that is the same process. However, some of the behaviors and the rules change a little bit. So I'll try to cover both. I mean, we'll start with bank, but I'll try to cover both to kind of show you where the differences are. Also, if you're a user, an accountant, CPA, whatever, and your purpose of using bank rules is strictly to do cash basis write-up, that means that all the income, all the deposits come in as income, all the payments come out as checks. The perspective of how you use bank rules will be a lot different than a user that's sort of working on real-time books, right? Somebody that's actually managing accounts payable, accounts receivable, and I'll try to also show you some tricks behind sort of some of the real-time tools for bank feeds. And the last thing is, if you set up Direct Connect, typically it's all in product. You don't have to go into the bank website, but you have to pay. So Direct Connect bank feeds is the $10 or $15 a month fee that most banks charge. The manual download, which I have a screenshot here, this is my Chase account. So the manual download is when you actually go into your bank, you select your account, and you have to look for a button somewhere. This is Chase. Of course, every bank is different. And you would have to manually download what they call the QBO file, which is confusing because most users, QBO, they sort of represent QuickBooks Online, but in this case, the QBO file actually just means a Web Connect download file. So this is what in my personal Chase account, this is what the QBO file download, and in my bank Chase, the previous was, this is credit card, and this is bank. So bank Chase is sort of the same thing. It gives you a bunch of options, and it's the QuickBooks Web Connect QBO. Okay, so let me jump into the product now. And Michelle, I'm not sure if you are muted or not. Can you see my QuickBooks desktop file?
Yes,
okay.
We can see it. Thanks,
okay,
Hector.
All right, perfect. All right, so let me start with the bank feeds. So let's talk about manual downloading. So once you go into Chase, Bank of America, whatever bank it is, you're going to download a file called whatever the bank is .qbo. Okay, that's what the file looks like. And I want to show you some sort of advanced little tidbits about these files because sometimes it's interesting to see exactly the type of information that is behind it. So when I download this .qbo file, which is basically a Web Connect file, And keep in mind, there's the old terminology was OFX. That's what they used to call it, the OFX file. If I open this in Notepad, I want you to kind of give you an idea for what this looks like. This is basically just a text file. This is an XML file with a bunch of data. For example, in the text here somewhere, I won't go into too much detail, your bank account number is actually typed in here. And this is how QuickBooks identifies which QBO file needs to be attached to which bank account in the bank feeds. Now, I downloaded a spreadsheet version of this, which is not the same thing as opening it in Excel, because if you open in Excel, it will look kind of like the Notepad. But I opened the Excel spreadsheet version of what would be the QBO download, because I may have to revert back to this just to show you some illustrations about how the data comes in. So let me jump in the product. So once I download the file itself, the standard process to bring it in is we go to Banking, Bank Feeds, Import Web Connect file. It's actually the same thing as going into Utilities, and there should be Import Web Connect file. So there's actually two places to do the exact same thing. Once I do that, I jump over to the folder where that file was downloaded. I select it and I hit Open. That's how the manual feed works. I won't demonstrate the Direct Connect, but with the Direct Connect, the difference is I don't have to go into the bank and download the file. The data just gets fed straight into QuickBooks. Once the QBO file is loaded in there, and this is some of the basics, let's go into some of the advanced. Basically, you're going to go into Bank Feeds, and it's going to say Transaction List. Now, this looks very different than the 2013 version and anything older than that. So this is 2014 and 2015. When I click on Transaction List, I get what the bank brings in, right? This is the raw information the bank brings in, and this looks very similar than this spreadsheet here. So I just wanted to kind of illustrate how the data comes in. Let's cover a couple of important points. Deposits, right? So we had a slide that said if you were an accountant just bringing in deposits as income, not really managing receivables, you would probably do something like this. You would create a customer called deposits, right, or something like that, and then you would bring this information straight into income. So I think it's construction income or something like that. Let's hit the drop down. So if you were doing cash basis sort of online banking, you would bring in the deposits straight into income. That's the behavior of the user if they were doing this just strictly sort of cash basis. Now, let me just resort this here. Now, where it would be different is, let's say I'm not doing that. Let's say I actually have to match this deposit to an actual invoice. So the way I would do that is I would hit this drop down here and go to add more details. So I would go to add more details. This is that action column. I will go to add more details. And in this action column, anything that's an open transaction, whether it's an open invoice or open undeposited funds, you can actually select them from here, right? This is assuming that I have copy of the deposit and I know exactly what's coming in. I can select these two here and then I hit add to QuickBooks, and that would actually match up the two payments to that deposit. So I'm going to go ahead and hit add to QuickBooks. Okay, so basically what I did is I took two undeposited funds. These are two payments I received. I didn't fully go to deposit, but through the online banking, I matched the deposit. Let me show you something a little bit different. You see this deposit here for $375. I'm going to go into the customer center, and then I'm going to look for, and I'm going to just create an invoice here real quick for $375. So let me just kind of show you. I'll create an invoice for $375. I'm going to match it up. So where's my item code? There we go. Design fees, and I'll do $375. Okay. This is just an invoice, right? When I get back into my online banking, and I go to select, add more details, I can actually go to open invoices and I can pick it up here. Okay, there was a sales tax in there, so I'll go back and fix it. Now, the other piece I wanted to show you, it's sort of in the same realm here. Let me go back into this invoice. I'm going to turn off the sales tax. Let me just turn off the sales tax so we get the exact same amount. There we go. I'm actually going to take this invoice and I'm going to receive the payment and deposit it so you can see exactly how online banking matches it. So I'm going to go to receive payments. Okay, there's my payment, $375. I hit save and close. And then I'll do the last step, which is bring it from undeposited funds into online banking, into the bank itself, sorry. So I'm going to go into record deposits, and I'm going to follow through and finish this deposit. Okay, so I'm just following through, finishing the deposit the manual way. What I want to show you is when I go back into my online banking, how the system, it actually grabs that deposit and matches it. So if you can see on the top right, there's this little blue box. This is automatically matched. When I click in there, it actually tells me, okay, you don't need to do anything else. We figured out that you made this deposit, the date and the amount matches, so it automatically makes the match for you. I don't actually have to pick the deposit itself or the payment itself. All I have to do is accept it, and I hit approve, and it does that piece. Another part I want to show you is I want to show you a deposit that contains a merchant fee. And for a lot of you attendees are accountants and kind of do this all the time, so this may just be a review for most of you. But I'm going to grab one of these deposits. I'll grab this one, for example. Let's say this $384.59 is the money that actually came in the bank. But the way my merchant account works is they actually take away the fee from the top, right? And the QuickBooks user typically creates an invoice for us for some other amount. So I'm just going to go back to my customer center and show you that. So let's say, for example, I have this invoice here for $409. I'm going to have this payment here. There we go. So I have this invoice for $409.05, which we recognize that we received the payment and we received it. So now QuickBooks has an undeposited funds of $409.05. The problem is, or the challenge is, that the way this particular bank works is they don't deposit the whole amount. What they do is they deposit a net amount of the fees. So how it work that is, let me go back and find that again. There we go. So the way I would work this is I would go back to the same function. I will go to add more details. But then this time around, I will select payment, and I'm going to have a difference of $24.46. So in order for me to reconcile that deposit with that received payment, I actually have to come in here. So I have to insert a line right under the specific line item and type here merchant fees, and then come in here and put in the negative amount, negative 24.46. Now, because this is a deposit with a negative amount, this is actually an expense, not an income. So this would actually correctly grab the deposit I received, or the payment that I received, which at the moment I didn't know how much the fee was. And once the actual money comes in the bank, I'll recognize the difference as a merchant fee. So I'm going to hit Add to QuickBooks. So that's another example I wanted to show you. I want to show you an example now with the payment side. So I'm going to sort these by payments. I'm just going to grab a couple of payments here. So let's say, for example, this right here. We have check for $1570.50. So right now, I don't know what this is. I would have to come in here and select vendor name and the account. But let's say that I do have an outstanding bill, and this check was used to pay that bill. So I'm going to go into my vendors here, and I'm going to create a bill for $1570.50. So I'm going to select here a vendor. I'll select BMW Finance, and the amount was $1750.50. Let me just double check that that was the actual amount. Yep, $1570.50. Perfect. So I transpose that number. There we go. So there's a bill, right? And it's just a bill. So I'm going to hit Save and Close. Hit Save and Close. Now, if I have the bill outstanding, it hasn't been paid yet. It is outstanding. I do have the ability to go into my online banking and mark the bill paid. So I'm going to show you how that works. So I'm going to go back in here, and I'm going to select this one, and I'm going to hit the drop down where it says Select Bills to be marked to be paid. So I'm going to click here, and then I select whoever the vendor is. And then the system will give me a drop down of all the bills that are outstanding. So I'm going to select it. And basically by doing this, I'm creating a bill payment and reconciling it with my online banking, with my bank feeds at the same time. So I'm going to hit Add to QuickBooks. Now I'm going to show you a little bit different approach to this. I'm going to show you with an actual manual bill payment and how it matches. So I'm going to take a look at another payment here. Let's look at this $399 that is also BMW Finance, right? Right now it's asking me what it is. So I could actually sit there and go BMW Financial Services, auto expense. I could do the manual work. However, if there was an outstanding bill, so I'm going to go back into my bills here. I'll go back into my bill from BMW. There's this one for $399. If I had paid this bill, I'm going to go to Pay Bill. If I had paid it the manual way, right? This is sort of a bookkeeper doing real-time accounting. If I pay this the manual way, and I'm going to just put here to be printed and go to pay selected bills, when I go back into my online banking, what it should do, the behavior I'm expecting it to automatically match. So I'm going to come in here and show you. Now, no longer it's in my list of things that I need to enter. It's now into this blue box here, which are the automatically matched transactions. So all I have to do at this point is select it and approve it. Okay, so that's a little bit of the technical side of working with bills and invoices with online banking. Let's talk about the bank rules. This is the other part I want to talk about. Now, in this particular bank, I don't have a lot of debit card type of expenses, so I'm going to show you the bank rules with my credit card. So I'm going to go back into my bank feeds. I'm going to go into bank feeds here. And then instead of going it through my bank, I'm going to show you with my credit card. I have a lot more expenses on the credit card, so this will be easier to show. And I'm going to go here to transaction list. And what I typically like to do is I like to do the ones that are common, vendors that repeat themselves over and over, first to kind of get rid of more transactions at a time. So what I do is I click on downloaded as, and what that does is basically it sorts it. And then we'll start with this one, iTunes, right? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 transactions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to match one of these. So I'm going to select one, and then I'm going to make this one the payee iTunes. So I'll just create the vendor here. Okay, and then on the account I'll put here office supplies, and then I'm going to hit select quick add. Now what the system will do is say, wait a minute, Hector, since we're trying to get smarter here, I want to grab the next transaction that says iTunes and automatically categorize it to office supplies. Are you okay with that, right? So I can actually ignore it and say, no, this is a one-time thing, don't do it in the future, or I can just hit OK and it'll actually grab it. And what that will do is it would actually move all the iTunes transactions. I'm going to resort these. It will move the iTunes transaction to this orange mode, which is changed. Okay, this used to be called changed by renaming rules. Now it's just called changed by rules. So when I go into here, the system automatically says, oh, Hector, I already know what this is. This is the vendor iTunes, or in this case I wrote tunes, and I'm making it office supplies. And at that point I can just go to add approve, and it will add all three in one shot. Right? So that's kind of the speed up process of working with when the vendors are the exact same. And I'm looking at the time here, I only got about 2 more minutes. So let me talk about another one. So let me go down here, and then I'm going to look for a vendor that is similar but not the exact same. So like this one, ExxonMobil, for example. If you look at 4 transactions from ExxonMobil, you would guess that if I add one, the system will automatically add all 4, but it doesn't work quite that way. So I'm going to show you exactly how the bank rules work. So I'm going to select the vendor, and I'll put here automobile expense, and then I'm going to go to quick add, and then I'll accept the rule and hit OK. The problem is I'm going to go back and sort these again so I can show you. We're going to go down to Exxon. The problem with this is because there was a couple of numbers at the end, the system didn't catch these last 2 here. It only caught that one. So in order to fix this problem, I have to go into the rules themselves, and I'm going to go into the ExxonMobil rule, and I'm going to edit it. And basically, these are the guts of QuickBooks' bank feeds memory. This is saying if the vendor is exactly this, rename it to ExxonMobil, make it automobile. However, the number that varies because maybe every gas station has a code, or every store. So all I have to do is take this away. And I know some vendors call it Exxon, some call it Mobile. So all I'll do is I'll just basically get rid of it and just leave Exxon, because there's really no other vendor named Exxon out there. So all I'm saying is I'm saying it's going to be a simpler rule. As long as it's got the word Exxon in it, whether it has numbers or not, rename it and recategorize it for me. So I'm going to hit save, and then I'm going to close this. And then we're going to see that now when I resort these as by name and I go back to ExxonMobil, it actually changed all 3 of them. So at that point, because they're already selected, I can just go to batch, add and approve, and it approves all of them. Okay? And the very last thing, actually I don't have any more time. But I want to show you American Airlines real quick. I'll do this. I have 1 more minute. So I'm going to show you this one. This one, instead of doing it manually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the bank rule before I even do the first transaction. So I'm going to go into bank rule, and then I'm going to create a new rule. Okay? So the rule says, I'm going to put here American Airlines, and it says if it contains the word American, so I'm just making it simple here, change the payee to American Airlines. I'm just creating a quick vendor here called American Airlines, and I'll click on add. Whoops. Let's go here to, I'll put this, I'm going to use a different vendor because it didn't, I should have added the vendor before. And then I'm going to categorize this to travel, okay? Actually, let me just do it. Let me do it correctly. So I'll put here American Airlines vendor, okay? And then I'll hit OK. And then basically, I'm telling the system that if it has the word, if it contains the word American at all, reclassify it to travel. So I'm going to, let me just go back here. For some reason, the system's automatically switching it to that. And I may have to, there it is. The system was doing it. Maybe I was hitting too many buttons at once. So when I hit the rule from 0, I haven't even done any manual transactions. You see the transactions automatically get changed into American Airlines here, and they get categorized to travel. So I just do batch enter and batch approve, and I'm good to go. So Michelle, you can take over now.
Fabulous.
Or do you have any questions?
Yes, actually, Hector, there were a few questions. I tried to answer a bunch of them, but you may want to go through there and answer some of them as well as you have time. But thank you, Hector. One of the things I will ask you to clarify for people, some people said theirs looks different, and I was telling them how they could go into the preferences. And can you just kind of mention how there's a different look? Plus, when the look updated in 2014?
Right, so the most important piece, if you're working on 2014 or 15, you're only going to have the version I showed you on the screen, or, and you have the screen now so I can show it, or the classic register mode. If you're working with 2008 to 2013, yours is side-by-side mode. So they actually do behave a little bit different. So I can only show one, but you know, if we have enough requests, if you go to qbpower.com, and a lot of you ask for the side-by-side mode, if we have enough, we could probably showcase that one as well. But this is 2014 and 2015 only.
Yes, very good. Yeah, and boy, Hector talked about, you know, if you have a lot of requests, a lot of people did ask to know more about this, and that's one reason why we're doing this topic today. So let us know what it is that you want to hear. Go ahead and write down the CPE keyword right now, Eagle. Write down this CPE keyword. Don't type it in the box, just write it down. And a little bit later, we're going to have a polling question where we'll ask you what the CPE keyword is. So Eagle. My son was an Eagle Scout. Yay! Okay, now thank you, Hector, for covering the desktop. Now I'm going to talk about QuickBooks Online. Last week we did talk about the bank rules and things like that, so you can watch the Power Hour from last week. We've got a recording out there. Also, I want to mention to you on the Sleeter blog, we remember we've got Doug coming up with this a little bit later. I've actually got a blog post out there about the some tips and tricks on working with downloaded transactions in QuickBooks Online, common mistakes and things like that. So go check some of those out for some additional resources. So I am in QuickBooks Online, and what I've already done out here is I've already set up some different accounts. I'm going to show you different things. So we talked a lot about bank rules last week, or the last Power Hour. This time I'm going to talk about the transactions and matching and things like that, because people had more questions about this. So we've got 3 different accounts set up, a checking account, PayPal, and Visa. First of all, let's look at our checking account. So I've got some transactions here, and I wanted to show you all how things can match and how they come in. So first of all, let's talk about the income side where we're receiving money. Here, this very first one, you can say I've got an invoice that this is already matching again. So it's saying we have an invoice here, and it's a possible match. Is this right? So it's looking for the date, it's looking for the amount, and it's trying to find an invoice that matches. If that's a match and everything is fine, all I would have to do is go ahead and click on match, and I can accept that transaction. For this next one here, we've got a sale of some product income, and it's not matching anything. I can click on that, and I could go out and look for some matches. Like, let's say I know I've entered some things out there. It's going to say we can't find any matching transactions here. We may need to change our dates, okay? So we may need to go in here and change the dates to go in and see what we're looking for. And it may be that I can't remember which account I was in. Oh, you're right. It was this one that I wanted to find my matching transactions. This is what happens when I set up more than one of these. Okay, so on this ATM deposit for $480, if I'm pretty sure that I've got something out there for the 480, I could go look for that, and I want to show you why I'm not seeing it. Under the banking, I've got this banking transaction set up here. I've got an invoice here that's been paid for $480. Here's my $480 payment. Why was that not showing up when I tried to find that matching transaction? Why was that not showing up? It's deposited to the checking account. And this is why I did this, because I wanted to show it to you to help you understand. I see a lot of questions that people say, it's in there. I've got this $480 payment deposited to checking. Why does it not show up when I'm in my banking area and I'm on this deposit for $480 that cleared the bank? When I say find my match, I don't see it. I checked my dates. I changed my dates to today even, all the way through today, and I still don't see that $480. Why? Well, that's what I wanted to point out to you is when it's finding a match over here, look what it's looking for. It's looking for an invoice and undeposited funds. This payment went to the checking account. This payment, if I change it to undeposited funds, and once I save this, now over under the Find Transactions, I'll be able to find that. So let's go in and look. Back over here on my Banking tab, let me close that and refresh. So let's do Find Match again. Aha, there it is, that $480 payment. So that's real important. I wanted to point that out to you. If your clients are entering an invoice and then receiving the payments should be going into undeposited funds, the payments. All right, so if they're going to receive the payments, go ahead and enter that, and you want to match them. You need to put the payments into undeposited funds, not directly into the check register, because as you just saw, you won't be able to match it. Okay, so that's one thing that I wanted to point out. So I could go ahead and select that and say save. So that's one example. Now this next one that I have here, I have a deposit that's come from the bank, and it says it's already matched this one here. Maybe though, I don't think it's supposed to be this deposit. I actually had a couple of sales receipts for this one, or maybe I had a couple of invoices. I can say, I don't think that's right. Let's go find other matching transactions. So again, we're talking about deposits. We're trying to match things. I wanted to show you the different options that I have here. Here's that deposit for $1,800. But I also could have, here's a sales receipt. Maybe I wanted to match it to this $1,000 sales receipt. Oh, look, here's another sales receipt for $800. Maybe I need to match it to those two sales receipts. Oh, wait, maybe it's not those two sales receipts. Maybe here's an invoice for $900 or another invoice for $900. What I wanted to point out to you is that you can match the deposits that are coming through. I can match them to an invoice or a deposit, not a payment that's made directly to checking, but things that go to undeposited funds. These two sales receipts right here for $1,000 and $1,800, let's go look at those. Where do you think those were posted? Here's that sales receipt for $1,000. Which account do you think that was posted to? Checking or undeposited funds? It went to undeposited funds. So what I want you to realize is based on the workflow of your clients, if they are entering these things into QuickBooks, they're entering a payment that they receive, or they're entering a sales receipt that they've received, we want to make sure and have them deposited to undeposited funds, not directly to the check register. Now, you might say, but Michelle, that doesn't seem right. Why couldn't I go ahead and tell it go directly to checking? Well, here I need to add these two together. I need to add the $1,000 and the $800. We had two sales receipts, remember? We had one for $1,000 right here, and we also had one for $800. So on the banking window, I am trying to match that to two. Let me uncheck the ones that I already selected. I'm trying to match two of these together, so I'm grouping them. So we're going through undeposited funds. So when you're searching for matching transactions, it will look for invoices or payments and sales receipts that are deposited to undeposited funds. Payments and sales receipts that are deposited to undeposited funds. If you have one deposit that's going directly into the check register, it will find those as well. But that's a key that I wanted to point out to you there. So when it comes to matching deposits, that was a few key things that I wanted to get across to you there. So let's clear that one off. So we talked about how you can match it to an invoice, you can match to payments and sales receipts from undeposited funds. Now let's talk about our money spent, our money going out, and how do we match things there. Okay, and it's the same type of thing. Notice I can match to a check, to a bill, or to a bill payment. So I can match a check, a bill, an expense transaction, which an expense transaction is new in QuickBooks Online now, where you can record an expense paid via the checking account or the credit card account. It will match those transactions. So it's important that you know how the client is entering things into QuickBooks so that how these matches are going. So we're matching transactions that have already been entered for things that have not been entered yet, like debit card purchases and credit card purchases. That's where we really want to use our bank rules, transactions that have not been added into QuickBooks already, where we're not matching, okay? So these are already matching here. I could go ahead and click on Recognize, and it's going to show me all the things that it matched or that it has a rule about. And I could quickly accept all of these at one time. As I review them and I say they're all okay, I could match all of those at one time. See how quick that is? And then you're just left with 3 things where you could go in here and deal with these 3 separately. That was all on my checking account. Let me show you over here on the Visa account. It's the same type of thing. With the credit card account, I've got a rule set up here for office supplies. So if it sees Supplies Depot, whether it says Supplies Depot Anytown or something different, it will look and it will see that, and it says we think those should be office supplies. Let's look at that bank rule. If I click on it, see how it says Rule Applied Supplies? I could click right here and go into that bank rule, or I could come up here and I can access my rules by clicking on this drop-down list where it says Manage Rules. So let's go in and look at that rule. And again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the rules, because we went over those in the last Power Hour. But just like Hector did with desktop, you can give it a name. You say if the description contains Supplies Depot, you don't want the store number in there or things like that. And in this situation, I said, and the amount is less than $300. Why do you think I might do that? What if I go to Office Depot or Office Max and I have an $800 charge? Maybe I bought equipment. Maybe I bought a new iPad. You know, so that's why I could say, well, if it's less than $300, let's just assume it's office supplies. If it's more than that, then we may need to review it, so we don't want this rule to apply. So we then tell it where do we want it to post that when it comes along with it. Now, I could add new rules. So let's go back over here and look at our credit card transactions. Let's see what we have. I have a coffee place treat, and I have a coffee place Anytown. Let's go ahead and set up a new rule for Coffee Place. So I'm going to click on Manage Rules, New Rule, and let's say the rule name is Coffee. I like coffee. Not really. I like tea. But if it complains Coffee Place, if the description contains Coffee Place, then I want to split this. And I want 50% to go to meals, and I could put it to an admin class, and maybe I want 50% to go to meals non-deductible, and I still want it to go to an admin class. So remember, we can separate that out. And under the payee, maybe I want it to go to restaurant, because I don't want to put every coffee shop in there. I have a generic name restaurant. I could go ahead and click Save. And now let's go back and look at those transactions on the downloaded transactions window. Let me close this for you. Now you'll see Coffee Place Treat and Coffee Place Anytown. They both say split because they've applied that rule. So this is where we talked last time about how this can save us a whole lot of time on dealing with these downloaded transactions and things like that. Now what I did is I went through and set some things up. I imported some sample transactions to play with it. You can go into that sample company and play with it as well. Enter an invoice, enter a payment that was received or a sales receipt, or enter a check or an expense. So you can go out there and play with it and see how quick and easy this works. Again, if I clicked on Recognize, I can select all of those and accept and get all of those out of there at one time, and now I just have one thing left to deal with here. Makes it a lot faster and a lot easier. I also saw questions about PayPal, whether you could set up PayPal. And the answer is yes. In QuickBooks Online, and Hector's covered the desktop, I'm talking about QuickBooks Online here, you can set up PayPal to get that bank feed coming through from PayPal. Now, what you have to watch out for is the fees from PayPal. So down here, we had a $300 sale that came through. It didn't deduct any fees or show any fees, and in this situation, I don't think there were any fees associated with this one. So what you have to look out for, I'm not positive, but I think, because I haven't double-checked this lately and I forget, I think the net amount received is going to come over. So you wouldn't be capturing the full amount. So that's something you should test. The sample company, you can set up PayPal, bring that bank feed into the QuickBooks Online sample company and test it out. Nothing is saved in there, so it's not going to keep that link. So you can do some testing of your own. To access the sample company, go into QuickBooks Online Accountant, click on that question mark in the upper right corner, and you can click on the QBO sample company to get in there and test some of that stuff out. Okay? So these things are going to help you tremendously, but you got to get in there and play with them and see how they work and things like that. Also, remember to check out that blog post about how do I undo a bunch of them. If you have duplicates, how do you undo those? What are some common mistakes, things like that. Check out that blog post on the Sleeter blog, which leads me right into Doug. We've got a great esteemed guest with us today, Doug Sleeter. You want to unmute yourself, Doug?
I am here. How you doing, Michelle?
Yay! Hi, Doug. Hey, Doug. It was great to see you last week at QuickBooks Connect, and I'm glad to have you on QB Power Hour. Doug Sleeter is one of the great thought leaders of our industry, and I'm very glad to have you on with us. So, Doug, a question for you. A lot of accounting professionals that I see, now that they're learning about these bank feeds and how we can automate everything, and we're really eliminating data entry, getting towards near zero data entry, what's going to happen to my job? Is that going to take away the need for accountants and bookkeepers? And so, Doug, you want to share your thoughts? What do you think about that?
Well, you know, I've been talking about these trends of zero entry for several years now that I really think are changing the whole way we think about doing bookkeeping. And I think what you guys just did, kudos to both of you. You really helped us see what this trend is turning out to be in real life. And so before I answer specifically your question, which is the answer everybody wants, is just notice what they're trying to do at Intuit. They're trying to just turn all of this, you know, gobs of transactions into feeds that can relatively automatically hit the general ledger, including being coded correctly and so forth. So they're trying to help us with that. Now, I don't know about you, but as I watched what Hector did and what Michelle did, I saw it's almost like you got to relearn QuickBooks. You have to relearn all of those practices that we've been so used to for 20, 30 years with regard to coding transactions that come into the general ledger. And that's good news, bad news. The good news is if you'll be willing to retrain yourself and rethink these processes, you can really dramatically increase the efficiency of what's going on. But there is an investment that is going to need to be made. And I think Michelle's question is sort of 5 steps ahead. What does this mean? If we do all this and automate all this, does that mean then we don't have any work to do anymore? And my biggest answer to that is, yeah, it sure does. It frees us from the mundane that doesn't add value and allows us to move up the value chain because I think it's all about what kind of value do you add to your clients. Frankly, they don't value putting transactions in their accounting system. They know they need it, but they don't really even, you know, intellectualize how much time it takes you or effort. So frankly, if we could automate that part and then get to the point where we can have strategic discussions with clients, as opposed to I did your bank downloads today and they're all in the accounting system. They don't really care about that. So I think that's where it goes, is it moves us up the value chain in the eyes of our clients so we can have bigger discussions with them.
Great comments, Doug. You're right, and I think a lot of people are realizing that it's changing us, and it's really helping get us away from the data entry person to more of that trusted advisor, where we can provide better advisory services because we're getting this stuff automated. And that's where I think the Sleeter conference does such a great job, because you've got a lot of sessions coming up, don't you, to help us with taking our practice to the next level and things.
Well, yeah, this year it's really, you know, every year, if you've been to our conference before, you've kind of watched us over the years. This is going to be our 11th conference. And what we try to do is, first of all, we see so much of the value that we're seeing with things like, oh yeah, there's a polling question up there. If you'll just answer, are you coming or not? And if not, we've got an offer for you. If so, I'm really glad to have you, and especially if you're coming back for a second time. But anyway, or third or fourth or 11th, some of you have been there all 11 years, and that's just wonderful. But what we try to do is take, in the context of a live event, a much brighter view on where it's all going. So you can see right here we've got bank feeds. This is, I believe, a direct result of what has happened in the industry at large. You've seen Xero come in and start to do dramatically different ways of handling transactions that come into the general ledger. And you see Intuit come in and dramatically change with QuickBooks Online Harmony. You see what they're all trying to do. They're starting to get that what they see by coming to our conference and then seeing what each other is doing, they're all kind of trying to say, oh boy, I could do that better, because clearly it's better for our customers. And I'll call the customers the accounting professional and the client. It's better for them if we can make it more efficient. So this year it's really, I just kind of focusing around the word value. Value for clients, value for your firm. How can we help you create better value in what it is you do every day? You know, maybe you're thinking about value for your clients. Hey, we can have better discussions with them and help them with strategic advice. Maybe you're thinking about your own firm and how you're mired in the old world where you got paper files and paper in filing cabinets, and you haven't even gone paperless yet. It would be highly valuable for you to begin to make that transition if you haven't already. The vendors in the trade show floor, value for them is really helping them see where they fit in and where they are helping you. It's a very much a two-way street with these vendors. They have to hear from you what works or doesn't work. So this trade show floor is a perfect place for you to go meet the principals, the engineers, and help them understand how to do it better. Clients, customers, they are all out there. Just think of everybody. Think about your personal life. You go and you shop. You shop at a mall? Well, yes, but now more and more we do all of our shopping online, or at least we combine the store experience with an online search. So our clients have to be online. They have to be there. Otherwise, their business goes away because they're not able to capture those customers through online. And really think about what we're doing in this profession as really driving the whole economy. What's good for small business is good for America's economy, which is good for the world's economy. And what we're doing is just really, really important. So if you think of yourself as a bookkeeper, what I want you to do is think of yourself as somebody that's contributing huge value to the entire economy. And that's what we're trying to help you do at our conference, is just look broader and look deep at all of the different solutions. So let's go into a little bit about what we're going to teach this year. I have my favorite, okay, there's a whole bunch of words on this slide, but hopefully you can kind of look through them. The red ones are the ones that Michelle is going to teach and Hector is going to teach. So there is going to be a QuickBooks Consultants Workshop. I assume, Michelle, you're going to kind of do both the desktop and the online and do a lot of what we just showed here. Is that right?
That's correct, yeah. We've got 2 half-day sessions, the pre-conference on Sunday, and yeah, half the time I can't remember which is first or second, but yeah, so we'll have the QB Desktop Consultant Workshop and QuickBooks Online Consultant Workshop. So right. Lots of good information there.
Yeah, and So that's like if you're still trying to kind of get up to speed with 2015 and the latest version of QuickBooks Online, I mean, you'll get what you need there in the pre-conference on Sunday. We've also got these keynotes. These are some of my favorite ones coming. Many of you know Randy Johnston. He's the last one on that list. He's been at our conference, I think, 8 years now. Just a great, great guy. If you want to know technology, he's the man. Another one I'll pick out there is Leslie Shiner. She's been a keynote for several years. Just the most entertaining speaker we have. So we're happy to have her back. Susan Solovic, the first one there, is the small business expert, and she's great as well. I haven't actually worked with her in the past, but I saw her at a session over the summer at Sage Summit. She's great. And Rick Richardson, if you wanted to look at how Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, how Motorola is coming along, basically the broader spectrum of how technology is really driving a whole bunch of new things. What Rick does is he ties them all together. He connects the dots so you can see why one cell carrier is doing better than the others, and so he makes predictions about where the whole technology space is going. And that, I think, really helps us all kind of put into context where we're focusing on what we're going to do next. So there's not a lot more time here. I just want to look at core tech things. Hector is going to do transferring data into your accounting system. Many of us are struggling with how do we get data from whatever sources into the accounting system, either online or desktop. So Hector, you're going to do quite a bit there, right? Why don't you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we on the last Power Hour for you repeating attendees, I did cover batch enter transactions kind of quick. So with batch enter and other techniques of importing data, Doug gave me 1 hour. I wish you'd given me 2, Doug, but gave me 1 hour to cover importing data into QBO, QuickBooks Desktop, and Xero. And it's kind of an interesting segue because we have about 200-something attendees in our Power Hour now that went to QB Connect. So interesting thing about Soultions, and I want to mention this, Soultions 14 Sleeter is not 100% QuickBooks driven, it's solutions driven. You know, one of the solution is importing data into QuickBooks Xero or QuickBooks Online, whatever it is. So one of the interesting things I wanted to add that in contrast to QuickBooks Connect and other QuickBooks accounting shows is Soultions it's majorly focused on QuickBooks because there's a huge QuickBooks community, but there's other things that are not QuickBooks. Michelle and I will probably never admit to ever using or seeing, but there are other things that are not QuickBooks that are also interesting things that as an accountant, not as an accountant, as a trusted advisor, as you alluded to, these are important things to have in your arsenal because what's going to happen when a client walks in your door and says, I have Xero, I love it, are you not going to be my accountant? So it's an interesting place to kind of change your mindset a little bit from that single product category. Yeah. Although QB Power Hour, it's all about QuickBooks though.
Well, that's true. It's what I call agility trumps ability. So I just want you all to, pick the tools that you want to pick, but be agile. So let's go to the next slide here and just kind of give you a couple more examples of what you'll be able to do. We're looking at that middle one there, Accounting Firm 3.0, how to future-proof your accounting firm. What do you think your firm is going to be worth when you're ready to retire? Most of the people in this audience, I bet because you're staying ahead, you're going to have value in your firm. But there's a lot of places where you go in and maybe you're part of a larger firm that isn't going as much with the agility part. And I want you to focus on where is your value going to be when you're ready to retire. So that's what we're going to have. I think we're just about out of time. So Michelle, why don't you guide me here? Do you want to do a little more on this, or are you needing to wrap?
Well, Doug, I'd just like to comment there too. Earlier you were talking about how it's really helping us to expand our firm, and like you just said, agility. And what I love hearing is from people who attend this, and they say, in the exhibit hall, I learned more about this app or this application or this product. I learned more about Bill.com, for example, or whatever it might be. And now I go back and I implement that with my clients, and I love hearing stories about how it's changed their firm, how it's enabled them to grow, how it's enabled them to take on more clients, improve their profitability. You know,
Right.
whatever it is, it like you said, helping us to be agile and keeping up with all these changes, what's going on, and how it can help us and help our clients.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing the amount of information that people get when they attend this conference. And I think, don't you have a special offer that we could make for people?
Yeah, why don't you go to the next slide. So if you're attending this webinar, I've got a special discount code for you there, Power Hour 100. So this is $100 off attending our conference. You can go to solutionsconference.com and get there. It is November 9 through 12 in Las Vegas, Caesars Palace. So it's just 2 weeks away. Oh, I got to get back to work.
But Doug, even though it's only 2 weeks away, I was just checking because I haven't booked my own travel arrangements. There's still great deals on airfare and hotels and things like that because it is Vegas. There's always good deals on that, so it's not too late to attend.
Right.
And it is a great investment in your practice and in expanding your education and learning more about all these things. So I think it is a great opportunity. Let me go ahead and put up the CPE keyword. For those people that might be getting kind of close. But we had a question too, Doug. Can somebody attend just the pre-conference?
Yes,
can they
you
register?
can.
Okay.
Yep, there is a pre-con only. You go to our website and it'll give you all of the details on how to get there.
Okay,
and
very
Michelle,
good.
I wanted to take advantage that the CPE question is up and address some questions that were up in about the bank feeds earlier. Mm-hmm. And we had a lot of questions about Square and PayPal. So a couple of things I wanted to add. Watch out for third-party apps that develop sort of bridges between PayPal, Square, some of these payment gateways, because the feeds right now, this is as of today, the feeds are not as sophisticated, and a lot of these payments come in net of the fees, which causes the user having to do that little trick that I showed you on the desktop side, which Michelle didn't cover, but it works the same way. You have to manually go in there and add a fee, which really takes away from what we wanted to achieve is to automate. So that's an important part. So just look after third-party tools, yes, probably with a cost of some sort, that will bring in the information from PayPal and Square. There was enough people asking, show us some examples about PayPal and Square, so go to QB Power Hour and suggest a topic, and if we have enough topics, we would love to cover that. So that's a very important piece. You know, it's some people use it, some people don't use it. If we have enough people that are using PayPal or Square and they're requesting it, we could probably dedicate a webinar to that. And somebody else asked, I see Doug and Hector, and I don't see Michelle on the webcam, so please bear with Michelle. She, Kansas City lost last night, and I'm sure it wasn't a happy situation. So I'm sure she preferred to just be heard, not to be seen.
Well, maybe I'll do that next time. Actually, I'm getting ready to move, so I have boxes of things, and it's kind of a mess around here. So, yeah, I didn't want to do that. But like Hector said, I encourage you guys to continue to give us your feedback on QB Power Hour. I love how many people we have attending these things, and it's all about you. That's what Hector and I have always said. It's all about you. What do you want to cover? How can we help you learn more about QuickBooks Desktop, QuickBooks Online, as well as some other things? I hope you guys will join us at the Sleeter conference. It's November 9th through 11th. It's going to be great, and I want to make sure if you are there, please come by and say hi to us and stuff. Doug, any last minute comments or thoughts?
Well, just thank you for having me here, both of you. You guys did great, detailed information that I personally learned a bunch from. Some of this stuff that's going on in QBO with the training, the feeds and all is just incredible. Same with desktop. I think they're coming a long ways. I was happy to see, Hector, that you're all over 15. I've been looking at 15 quite a bit myself. It's like, wow, okay. It's kind of like, let's learn it all again. And I think there's some there. So I hope all of you will take what they showed you today and learn that more. And please come to our conference. It's just going to be a fun event, and I look forward to seeing you there.
And it's in Vegas. Don't forget, Accountants Gone Wild.
Oh, yeah, lots of fun. Let's
remember what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
No, it goes on Twitter.
And Facebook and Twitter, yeah. All right. Well, speaking can go Twitter and Facebook and things. Don't forget to use our hashtag QBPowerHour. And we'd love to see you guys out there. Help us spread the word to keep making Power Hour even better. Also provide us the feedback. Let us know what it is you want to cover. And for me, I'm going to say thank you, and I'll see you guys in a couple of weeks at Solutions 14 in Vegas. Hector, thank you again. Thank you guys all for joining us. And Doug, thank you especially. I know it's a really busy time as you guys are getting ready for your conference, so thank you for taking time to join us today. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.